Hi everyone, me again in South Georgia, heading pretty much south. Gonna go down and see if I can't find another covered bridge, one that I haven't been to. It's been a while since I've been to one, and I thought I'd go check out a few. There are a few more in the state that I can reach in a normal day in just an hour or two, and that I haven't filmed yet and visited, so I thought I'd go. But what I thought I'd had a little thing here to ask you, and it's a phrase that I used to use a lot back before I was ever married, and it's sort of a question, and the question is, why would you want to be with someone who doesn't want to be with you? It's sort of like I had a variant on that when I was working at the place where I worked. And why would you want to work with people that don't want to work with you? But that's for another day. But the one thing about why would you want to be with someone who doesn't want to be with you? I was single up until, I don't know, 30 something. I think actually when I was 30, I did date quite a bit. I met some really beautiful women, some really lovely ladies. You know, I never was very successful in dating in high school. I did have one main squeeze my senior year, and dated off and on with a few people in high school, but including my soon-to-be wife. But nothing ever really came of that. I wasn't looking for a long-time relationship, and none of them were back in that day. But the closer I got to 30, the more and more the women that I dated were looking for someone to start a life with and to be with, and I wasn't ready for that. It just wasn't my time at that point. So what I date someone for a while, and it would inevitably get down to the point where it's either get serious or break up, and we would always break up, and sometimes they broke us up, sometimes I broke us up. It just depended. I don't know. But somewhere, I think in my 30th year, I met a young girl. She was young. I didn't know how young at the time, but I met a young girl, and we started chatting, and before you knew it, we were dating a little bit. And on our second date, she brought along her daughter, who was 9 months old, and a little baby, cute little baby. And we went to a movie. We took her to a movie, and I think that was our second date, and we had a good time. I'd never been around a baby before. We enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I had fun. I was enjoying the whole process. Never been around babies really, and except for my sister, and I was a baby then at the time too, so I didn't remember anything about it. And I never dated anybody with a baby before, with a child. So I'd say maybe a week after that second date, before we'd had a chance to go out on a third date, her apartment burned to the ground. She lost everything she had except for a cast iron skillet and a laundry basket full of wet, smoky clothes. Literally everything else was gone. Now, she had moved out of her mom's house and basically didn't have anything. And I had actually loaned her a TV set that I spare one of these little portable plastic, $80, $90 TV sets. And she had that, and the guys in the apartment next door to hers left something on when they went to work. I had something electric, and it caught on fire, and that her apartment never did actually get any flame in it, but it got superheated smoke, and it got so hot in there that on the far wall opposite the apartment that was burning, inside the cupboard, it burned the labels off of the canned goods that she had in the cupboard. But more importantly to me, my TV set I had loaned her, which was sitting on the dresser, melted. And it was cool. It just flowed all down the front of the dresser and plastically sealed all of the drawers. So we had to break in I had to break the plastic loose to be able to open the drawers, and of course everything in there was absolutely ruined. It was literally burned somehow. It hadn't, you know, it had burned without a flame. It had just combusted. So she didn't have a thing. So ended up, she called me and said that her apartment burned down, she lost everything. So I got off work a little bit early, and I just so happened I worked not too far from where her apartment was. And so I went over there, and she'd been talking to the Red Cross, and the Red Cross said that they could provide a place for her to stay for one night, but that was all. After that, she would have to find someplace else to go. And at the time, I was living in renting in an old country farmhouse. I think it had 4 or 5 bedrooms, and I had some spare, had a spare bedroom set and all that in there, and I had set it all up pretty nice, and for any overnight guests. And so I offered it to her. I said, "Look, why don't you come with me, and we'll figure something out." And I lived out in the country, and at this time, she had come down from up north and up around New Hampshire, and had never owned a car, so she had never bothered to get a driver's license. So I promptly move her out of the city of Charlotte, where she has buses and, you know, ways to get around, and her mother not that far away that lets her give her a ride. Move her out into the country where she has no way to get anywhere, so she's pretty much stranded. But we worked it out. Her mother, you know, told her mother how to get there. Her mother would come out and visit her and babysit for her when she had to go to work, because she did want to keep her job. She couldn't afford to lose that. That's all she had. So it all worked out pretty good. But anyway, more with the story. She couldn't move back in with her mother because she has, gosh, I think she has 5 brothers and sisters, and they were all, a good number of them were living in a 2-bedroom mobile home, and that's why she had moved out in the first place. So there was no way she could go back there. So anyway, I moved her in. Everything's above board. 2 years later, we get married. Now, what happened in between was that 9-month-old baby continued to grow, learned how to walk, learned how to talk, and began to call me daddy. Now, I don't know if you've ever experienced that. It was a wonderful thing. If you've ever been a parent, you know what it's like. And even though I wasn't her father, she thought of me as her dad. And as my mother put it so well one day, she said, "You've got to either let her go, or you're going to have to marry her, because that little girl thinks you're her father." Well, that sealed the deal. Where no woman by herself had been able to do it, a woman and at this point now, 1.5-year-old, you know, almost 2-year-old, were able to convince me, well, maybe it's time to get married after all. So we did. We had a 25-year relationship. It ended. Came home one day, and literally came home one day, and she had her bags packed, and she said, "I want something more out of life, and I've met somebody else, and I'm leaving." And I asked her, "What is there anything I can do? Is there anything I can do or anything I can say that will make you stay?" And she said, "No, there isn't." So I picked up her bags, carried them out, put them in her car, gave her a kiss goodbye, and off she went. About a year later, we were divorced, and she remarried. I stayed single for about 4 years until I met my current wife and my past girlfriend in junior high school and high school. And I'm very, very happy, and I'm so glad that things transpired the way they did. And I understand that she's happy. We still see each other. We share children and grandchildren. So family events, things like that, birthdays, get-togethers, you know, we do see each other, and we're pleasant with each other, if not really all that friendly. But, you know, life moves on. But to answer my question that I posed earlier, why would you want to be with someone who doesn't want to be with you? Well, the answer, of course, is love. if you love someone, even if they don't want to have anything at all to do with you, you still want to be with them. And it's self-destructive behavior, and it really hurts you in the end. But, you know, hey, it's human nature. But, you know, well, you know, I guess that's all I really had to say about it. Like I said, I'm very happily married to my wife Susan, and we're having a great time. A bunch of old people that we are, and enjoying my retirement and her soon to be retirement. Riding this motorcycle around, having a great time. So, oh well, I just thought I'd pose that to you. See if anybody had anything to say. Everybody take care, all right? See you later. Bye-bye.